Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know It, the News You Trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dale Minio. 1/1500ths of an inch in the rain gauge. Yes, I saw a lot more storms on radar and even some blowing around, but we'll take the 1/1500ths. That brings us to almost 3 inches for this week. The Ohio Crop Tour is underway. It started yesterday. It is a project of the Ohio Field Leader program that's brought to you through the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Let's check in on the North Leg from Dusty Sonnenberg.
Joining me today is Russ Rice. Russ is a certified crop advisor and agronomist, retired from Nutrient Ag Solutions, now doing some work with the Nature Conservancy. Russ, you're part of the North Leg of the crop tour this year, and we got a chance to visit Delaware, Union, Marion, and Morrow counties today. And interesting, as we looked, I know one comment you and I made in the vehicle was we really didn't see a bad field.
No, everywhere we were traveling today, I thought, even when we would think that maybe there's some fields where there was some tough spots, it looks like the crop has grown through it very well. And with the weather conditions that we've had, yeah, there is some stress, but the crop itself has handled it very well. When I was looking at fields, you dig down into that soil, and it seemed like the soil moisture was there. So maybe even having to deal with some of this stress, the crop actually has better energy underneath than what you would think.
We were able, even though we were, quote, the North Tour, that was just sort of the north side of Columbus or the north central part of Ohio, so we avoided the rain showers that a lot of the northern corner counties caught that went through with the storms yesterday. So we will have a chance to view those today as we get a chance to go out, and we're going to hit Crawford County and Wyandotte County. I think if I go through the list, we've got Hardin County, Hancock County, Henry County, Defiance County, Putnam County, Allen County, Auglaize County, and Logan County. So a big day ahead of us. And, Russ, I think it's probably going to be interesting. I'm guessing we probably saw some of the best of the crop we're going to see.
I would agree that it seems like, I bet most of the farms that we were on today, those southern fields probably got planted in a more timely manner. And so maybe they didn't experience as much stress, whereas the fields, as we keep working our way north, there was some pounding rains in May and the beginning of June that slowed some guys down, and we'll see tomorrow as to how that crop has handled that.
Well, one day of the crop tour down. Day 2 is today on Wednesday, and we'll be sure to file reports all day long. Be sure to tune into the midday show and afternoon programming, and, of course, all the updates at ohioagnet.com. Dale, back to you.
And thanks, Dusty. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Dry weather trying to break out over Ohio. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at your Ohio Ag weather update. Here's what's going on a Wednesday. We're seeing the remains of late yesterday's moisture try and break up and move off to the east and south, and we should not see any precipitation now over the Buckeye State from here through the 10-day forecast window. We're going to be cooler and less humid here to start. No one's complaining about that. Definitely not this guy. But as we hit the later weekend and into early next week, heat and humidity are back in general. This time, though, we do not see pop-up thunderstorm potential. So dry all the way through. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at the end of the 10-day forecast window right now, next Friday the 16th, and what I'm seeing upstream back down to the southwest over Arkansas and southern Missouri or to the northwest in the Dakotas would signal that we don't see anything of major consequence here till probably later on Saturday the 17th or even Sunday the 18th. That's our first good threat of moisture here across the region. So warm and dry evaporation rates will be at a maximum. I believe that with the moisture that we've seen off and on so far, areas in the central and north may be okay. Southern Ohio definitely going to be complaining and needing a rain by the time we get to the end of next week, unless we see better pop-up thunderstorm potential come together. Right now, I just don't see it. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Don't forget the southern leg of the crop tour started in central Ohio and headed south. And again, you can check the pictures and details of all of their stops at ohioagnet.com. Let's check in with Joel Panorwood. He has an update from BASF in their monthly Amplifying Ag program.
Nick Tinsley, BASF Technical Field Rep for Seed Treatment, joined us today to talk sudden death syndrome and soybean cyst nematode. A timely topic, something to keep an eye out for this time of year.
Sudden death is caused by a fungus that lives below ground on soybean roots. And even though we think about sudden death this time of the year, the infection actually occurs very early on in the growing season. In fact, growers who plant early to maximize yield potential are at increased risk of sudden death. It's not until late summer rains push toxins from the roots into the soybean canopy that we start to see foliar symptoms, things like yellowing or browning between leaf veins, premature senescence, and even plant death. Unfortunately, once we start to see those above ground symptoms, there's really nothing we can do to stop the yield loss other than plan for next year. Soybean cyst nematode, or SCN for short, is the most important pathogen affecting soybean in the United States. Every single year, it causes somewhere on the order of 100 million bushels of yield loss. SCN can be tricky too because, like the pathogen that causes sudden death, it also lives below ground on soybean roots. However, it rarely causes any above ground symptoms, and so most growers don't even realize they might be losing yield to SCN. The only sure way to know if SCN is affecting your crop is to take a soil sample.
If we find it, what to do?
The first thing you might consider is crop rotation. And while this may be very effective for helping reduce SCN densities, crop rotation won't help manage sudden death because the pathogen that causes it can survive on corn and corn residue. The next thing to consider would be resistant varieties. We're lucky that our seed catalogs are loaded with varieties that offer some level of resistance to both sudden death and SCN. And while it's important to use those varieties, keep in mind that no variety will be 100% effective against both of these pathogens. The final tactic to consider is using a seed treatment like Alivo from BASF.
That full video featuring Nick Tinsley with BASF talking sudden death syndrome and soybean cyst nematode online today at ohioagnet.com. I'm Joel Panorwood reporting.
And thanks, Joel. Back with more after this.
It's time to cut costs. Your Meristem dealer has the keys. Unlock the NPK you already own with new improved Excavator AMS powered by microbialized technology. Excavator AMS is the first and only all-in-one nutrient release and residue breakdown product with built-in nitrogen, surfactants, and water conditioner. Take cost out of your fertilizer and adjuvant spend now. Unlock nutrition faster with Excavator AMS. Learn more and find a dealer at meristemag.com. Always more bushels for less.
The Southwest Ohio Corn Growers will be hosting their annual field day Tuesday, August 13th at the Fayette County Airport. Topics include Agriculture Outlook and Policy Update, Ben Brown, University of Missouri, tar spot detection, and then what, Pierce Paul, OSU, Interseeding cover crops with drones, Alex Thomas, OSU, Economics of Grain Storage, Eric Rieker, OSU. The Southwest Ohio Corn Growers Field Day will begin at 9 a.m. For more information, please visit fayette.osu.edu.
18 members of Congress sent a letter to the Commerce Secretary, Gina Raimondo, saying they are concerned that tariffs on imports of a widely used herbicide called 2,4-D could compromise reliable, affordable access to agriculture inputs. The effort was led by Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa and Representatives Adrian Smith of Nebraska and Jimmy Panetta of California. Agriculture producers already face record high input costs while competing in a volatile market, and prices for all crops are forecasted to decline over the next several years, the representative said. Without careful consideration of the facts during these preliminary investigations, new tariffs will result in difficulties for producers who rely on this critical input. They will only exacerbate the economic challenges. The National Corn Growers Association supported the congressional effort, and growers have said American farmers cannot rely upon a sole domestic supplier of 2,4-D to meet nearly all the market's needs, a sentiment echoed in the letter sent to the Congress Secretary. Time now for the Louis Dreyfus Grain Analysis, brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Here's Ryan Martin.
It was turnaround Tuesday in the marketplace yesterday. Markets setting back after surprisingly performing okay on Monday. Corn finished the Tuesday session down 1 to 2.5. Beans down double digits at 13 to 15, well, 17 cents actually. Bean meal was lower, bean oil lower. Wheat was the odd man out, still gaining a couple of pennies, but wheat didn't perform necessarily all that strongly on Monday. The Tuesday activity was mostly about just trying to figure out what's going on in the outside markets. We did see a bounce to turn around Tuesday day on the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P futures. Dow futures were up about 500 points. Crude oil up 25 cents a barrel. And as we moved into the livestock markets, there was a little bit of a bounce back there on nearby live cattle and hogs. Feeders were kind of interesting. Soybean futures pushed into the red. Crop conditions scores on a Monday gained 1%. That was kind of unexpected in the good to excellent category. Most were noting, though, that condition ratings are more correctly gauging the U.S. crop yields after the August WASDE report, which, speaking of that, it comes out on Thursday, and so we're seeing some position squaring there. Otherwise, we're just not necessarily seeing a large amount of stories to trade on the soybean side. Brokers estimate that managed money purchased 3,100 contracts of wheat yesterday, 3,500 contracts of corn, and sold 4,400 contracts of beans. The GASC in Egypt tendered for a large 3.8 million metric tons of world wheat from October all the way through April. Credit terms of 270 days. Will any of that come to the U.S.? Probably not. Russia, Black Sea area is going to be the number one. U.S. June census corn exports were at 216.4 million bushels, almost 31 million bushels above the monthly estimate that was out there. All of those things helping the markets hold in on corn, nothing to help the beans yesterday. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. We'll look at the market numbers after this.
Did you know soybeans' number one customer is animal agriculture? That includes Ohio's beef farms. Research from the Soy Checkoff found that U.S. beef operations use over 1.3 million tons of soybean meal every year. That's the meal from about 55 million bushels of U.S. soybeans. Essential protein, energy, and amino acids. High-quality feed for heart-healthy beef. Soybeans, feeding the industry that feeds us. Brought to you by Ohio's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Is it time to mow the grass again? Mowing is a routine summer task, but mowing accidents can cause serious injuries. Remember, if you're using a riding mower, never mount or dismount when it's running, and never carry passengers, including children. Always make sure to inspect the terrain for hazards before you get started. As long as the grass keeps growing, we all have to keep mowing. The Safety Tipper is brought to you by the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. Visit bwc.ohio.gov for more summer safety reminders and resources.
Today's market's brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Recapping yesterday's closes, we had December corn at 4.05 1/4 cents, down a penny and 3/4. November beans down 14 at 10.26 3/4, and September wheat 5.43 1/4 cents, up 3 3/4 cents. Also, don't forget, make plans now to visit the Henry County Fair. It runs August 8th through the 15th. Visit henrycountyfair.org for more details. Turn to the overnight now. September corn down 3 3/4 at 3.85. December 4.02 1/4 cents, down 3. Next March 4.19 1/4, down 3. Now, the August beans are off 7 3/4 this morning at 10.20 3/4. November new crop down 10 3/4 at $10.16. Carry that November to January of next year, and you're 10.32 3/4, down 10.5. September wheat up 2.5 at 5.45 3/4. July new crop up 3 1/4 at 6.07 1/2 cents. In the livestock side of things, August cattle, $181.97, up 42. The October's up a nickel at 179.05. December down 20 cents at 178.05. August lean hogs up 12 cents, 91.27. October up 67 cents at 76.40. And December up 35 cents, but at $68.95. Feeder cattle for September down 67 cents at $240.57. The October at $239.02 is down 20 cents. September Class 3 milk this morning up 15 cents at $20.39. The October is up a dime at $20.92. Don't forget to check in regularly on the Ohio Crop Tour, both the north and south leg. The pictures tell a lot of the story. Thanks for joining us. I'm Dale Minio. This is the Ohio AgNet.